My dear friends, as I've mentioned in an earlier video, I like baking, and I think that we can sometimes gain valuable insights in living out our faith from baking. And lo and behold, in today's gospel reading, Jesus uses a baking metaphor to describe the kingdom of heaven. So it got me thinking, of course, about baking again. Jesus in today's gospel said, "The kingdom of heaven is like the yeast a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour till it was leavened all through." And since Jesus speaks about the use of yeast, it got me thinking specifically about bread baking. And bread baking is unique because bread baking isn't as easy as it seems. It is not merely mixing of the ingredients and the kneading of the dough. There are some steps that must be followed strictly for the bread to turn out the way it is supposed to turn out. For instance, as Jesus has instructed earlier, the yeast must be mixed well with the flour. And also, the baker must make sure that the yeast is active in order for it to function as a leavening agent. Some yeast requires the adding of warm water to activate it. But one must not add water that's too hot, for it may kill the yeast, or water that's too cold, so that the yeast is not activated altogether. And another step to take note is proofing. And proofing is simply a period that the kneaded and shaped dough is allowed to rest so that the active yeast can ferment the dough to produce gases and to make the dough rise, so that the bread will come out with the proper texture. On the part of the baker, it requires patience for the dough to rise. So the mixing of yeast with flour, activeness, and proofing. So what have these 3 things got to do with our faith life? Well, as Christians, we are all called to evangelize and transform the world. We are called to share in the Lord's mission in building the kingdom of heaven. And as missionaries, we are like the yeast mentioned in the gospel text. We are the leavening agents. But as missionaries, we cannot function behind the safety of the walls of our churches. If we hope to leaven and transform others, we should be with others out there in the world. Next, if we hope to bring the Lord to people, we should be actively living out our faith among them. You do not need to do exceptional things or great things. Just live a good and wholesome Christian life. And some of us may feel discouraged or even dejected because we may not see the fruits of our contribution towards the mission, towards the building of the kingdom. But be patient, because it is never our time, it's always God's time. And in God's time, you will see your contribution, you will see the fruits. So my dear friends, go out there and live a life worthy of a disciple of Christ, and be a leavening agent to transform others and to help build the kingdom of heaven.